Dale from TSE Digital Voice. We're from Bedford, New Hampshire. So we're providing the new phones and we're the phone company behind it all. We've been doing municipalities and school districts since 2005. And so today we're going to go over the phones. We're going to first go over the layout of the phones, and we can go into the user guide, going over how to. Today's more about the basics, so that our intention is when you walk away, you have a good understanding or feel comfortable about making and answering calls. And again, it's something new. It's going to take a little getting used to because the buttons are in different spots than you're used to, but certainly it's not that much different than you have. It's just where are the buttons, and so the system will also bring some advantages in having a citywide system. So that was the goal of the whole project, is to have a citywide system so that patrons who call in, if you're done with the phone call and you want to talk to a different department, you can actually transfer the call or park the call. So,
We'll put it
on hold. Yes. So that's so far to date. Last week we did the fire department, the parks and rec, the library, and then Friday we did the water department. This evening, after business close, we'll be putting the new phones in your desk, and so you're going to come into the new phones tomorrow morning. As far as the rest of the city, the public works, the DPW, they'll be Thursday. There is a tentative extension sheet that's created, but it is, keeps evolving. But I'm sure what we'll do is we'll distribute this afternoon. We'll send this one out because it's close enough. And then as we get it finalized, we'll send another one out. The extension numbers for the city hall have changed. They are 100 series 3-digit extensions. Every extension in the city, a department, they're all 3-digit extensions, and they're grouped kind of like by building. You'll see in the form. So bear with me. We're trying to record this so that other people who might miss the training can watch the video. So I just have to make sure that I'm not blocking I'm not right. I'm not one of the social media videos. Just bear with me. All right. So the first thing I'd like to do is go over the layout of the phone. If you don't know. So on the upper left of a large screen, the upper left side, we call those call management keys. This is where calls come in and you make calls. So your extension is on the upper left corner. In this case here, this is Karen's phone, Karen Santario.
Santoro.
You're there. Okay, this is your phone.
No,
Woo.
you're lucky. Using you as an example.
So your extension
You're
128 on the new system. So on the upper two keys are where if you were to pick up the receiver and make a call or answer a call, you're using the top two keys. The bottom four keys they're showing as park locations. And we're going to go into park in detail because it's more relevant to the citywide system. So, but basically, these are your call management keys. Underneath the LCD screen, you have the 5 keys. They change based on what you're doing. We call them context sensitive keys. Based on what you're doing, they change. So when I pick up the receiver, I have an end call key. If I'm on an actual call, you'll see the word conference call come up. If I made a call on this phone, another key comes up as redial. Right now we have history. So they're constantly changing based on what you're doing. And a lot of the user guide is referencing these soft keys. Section. So for example, the history key, if I would hit history, the phone keeps 2,000 call records and it categorizes in all missed, dialed, answered, transferred. I mean, it's crazy how they categorize everything, but if you, it keeps the last 2,000 records. If you go beyond that, it deletes the oldest record. You can delete all your records when you're in there. Once you have a call history, you can delete them all. If it bothers you, you want to keep it clean, you can delete them. But let's say you missed a call, and you certainly can go in there and find the call you missed, and then you can actually highlight it using the cursor. The up, down, left, right key we call navigation keys. The middle key is an enter key or the menu key. If you use that, you can navigate the screen. So that's what we call navigation. Right now we have a little home button that takes you back to the home page. Other keys. So you have your fixed feature keys on the right of the display. You have your voicemail key on the upper right. I'm going to go into that. The phone book key. The phone book. By the end of the week, there'll be a phone book that's built for all the extensions in the city. When you press the phone book, it'll bring up the departments, and you can choose the department you want to call. And then if you go into the department, you can scroll to the person within the department. If we don't have to look through 200 extensions to find a person that you're trying to dial. But the system has a little bit more intelligence than that. If you start to dial, if you're trying to reach Glenn Smith and you know his extension, you start to type the word Glenn on the keypad, spelling out Glenn or last name Smith. It'll do a fuzzy search and bring every extension that's similar up on the screen. And you can use your navigation keys to scroll to it and use the soft key to dial. So it tries to predict what you're dialing. So if you're dialing a number, you're calling a number, you'll see it brings up things on the screen to try to predict what you're dialing. So the phone book is not loaded, but it will be as soon as these extensions are ironed out tonight. We'll load it up. So yes, we want you to have the piece of paper today, but we're trying to get it so it's in the phone, so you don't have to keep this piece of paper hanging on the wall. And we'll keep it active. So that's what the phone book is. The key below it is the personal hold key. So we call it private hold. If the call is for me, I answer the call and I have to go look up something or converse with someone or consult with someone. And I want to put on hold that no one else will pick it up on hold. It's just on hold at my desk. I would hit it's labeled as a pause key. It puts the call up on your line 1 or line 2. It puts it on hold up there, it flashes. No one else will see that it's on hold. They hear music on hold. When you're ready, you go back over to that button, you press the flashing key, you get the call back. So that's private hold. Public hold is the park. So if I want to give the call to someone else, you're going to park the call just by picking a parking location, pressing the key. That person is now on hold throughout the whole department, throughout the whole city, or the whole building and city. So the first thing I'm going to cover is how you can move calls between departments and between buildings using park. Once we get through these feature button keys. So down below, there's a phone-to-phone button. That's your transfer key. The word transfer comes up on your soft keys as well. So you can use the hard key or the soft key for transfer. Next to it's the conference key. We'll go into conferencing. Below it, your microphone on and off. If you had a headset, it plugs into the bottom, a corded headset. You can answer the call on your headset with a headset key. Your speakerphone key is on your far right. If you want to use your speakerphone to make a call, you can use the speakerphone button. First, dial your number, pick up the receiver to talk to them, or keep it on speakerphone. But if I'm on the handset and I want to go to the speakerphone, you just hit the speakerphone key. Turn it on. So to go back to handset, you just pick up the receiver. The speakerphone is full duplex. If in a quiet environment like this, although this is going to echo a little bit, you can't tell if you're on the handset or the speakerphone because they're digital phones and high definition. It's a very high quality speakerphone. So if you're in a cubicle, as long as you're not going to bother anyone else, people can't tell if you're on the speakerphone. If you need to use your hands, for example, IT, they need to use their hands when they're working on servers and stuff. You can put on speakerphone as long as the door is closed. can't tell the difference, if you're on speakerphone and headset. The key next to it, right to the left of it, it's shaped like a telephone or handset. That is your dial key, or what I call execute. An example of this, and we'll talk about right now, calling out. When you go to call out, you can either pre-dial the number on your keypad, and when you're done dialing, you can pick up the receiver, hit the speakerphone button to call out. So if you pre-dial the number, it gives you the opportunity to backspace if you make a mistake. So I call my cell phone and I make a mistake. Well, I can hit the backspace key to correct my dialing and then hit dial when I'm done. That's pre-dialing. Now with our system, you don't have to dial 1603 like they're telling you have to dial 10 digits now in the capture. You can just dial 7 digits. We add the 1603 for you. If you dial 1 plus area code, or you dial the area code without the 1, we add the 1. We correct your dialing. The system's trying to figure out what you're dialing. To get back to that send key, if I dial 7 digits, it's going to wait 3 more seconds to see if you're going to dial another digit before it executes or sends the call up to the central office. But if you're impatient because you're in a rush, you can just hit the send key. On the soft key, it'll say dial, but that little handset is the dial key or send key. So if you're dialing 7 digits and you're impatient, you can hit dial or the send key or the handset key. It'll send the call right away. Now, if I'm on the receiver, if I pick up the receiver and I'm making a call, the dial pad is live, so I can't make a mistake. If I dial something incorrectly, it's a hot dial pads here. So that, whatever you want to do, you can pre-dial, pick up the receiver later, hit the word dial, pick up the receiver later. Or if you have the receiver in your hand, it's a live dial. You with me on that? So you don't have to press any keys, just dial it on the keypad or pick up the receiver, dial on the keypad. It'll go up in line 1, it'll use your line 1, goes out.
Can you use that with in-house too?
Yes, so if you want to dial the extension, it'll wait 3 seconds before it executes, but you get the word dial and it'll send right away. Or speakerphone, 3 digits dial. So we try to make it easy for you. As far as on incoming calls, if your phone rings, you'll see the caller ID on the screen. The caller ID will be the name. If we get the name from the central office, we provide you the name. So if it's a patron calling, if we get the caller ID from their landline, the name, we'll put it on there. You'll see it. If I'm on the call, well, to answer the call, number 1, your phone rings. It's an outside ringer. It's different than an internal ring. It's 2 different ringtones. You just pick up the receiver. You don't have to hit any keys. Just pick up the receiver. Our phones have what they call automatic hold. So if I'm on line 1 and I'm talking to someone and I get the caller ID and I'm conversing, if someone were to call me, I get the second call, it will split the screen into 2. You'll see the incoming caller ID. So you can then determine whether you want to say, I'm just chit-chatting at this point. I just want to finish the call, try to finish the call so I can answer the second call. Or I can say, please hold. If I say, please hold, you can just go to the second key, which is flashing. It automatically puts the first call on hold, your private hold. It makes the line 1 flash up top. And now that I'm on the second call, I can flip between the 2 just by pushing the key, and it puts the other one on hold automatically. You can't hit the private hold key, the pause key, but it does automatic hold. So it just tries to, so you don't lose a call. That's the purpose of it.
So if you're on the phone with somebody and then you get the other call coming in, do you have an option to conference them?
Yes. So as soon as you got the call, the word conference comes up on the screen. The word conference is soft key. And in the user guide, the last sections is that, but it's so easy. I've got the call, I hit the conference key. Now that party's up on hold on the top line. I can go to the keypad and then dial another extension. Or if another second call that came in is the one I want to conference in, I can hit line 2 or I can dial a 7-digit number or 1 plus area code and get another number. When you dial the number, you got to hit the word dial to call them. You say, I'm going to conference you in. When they say, okay, hit the word conference again and it bridges you together. To add another party, you can have up to 3 outside lines and 1 inside line on this phone. Internal or external. Besides yourself, you can have 3 other parties. You just hit the conference and repeat the process. So it's pretty easy to conference people in. Just the only tricky part of the guide, and this is covered right here in this bottom section. You have to hit the word dial if you're adding somebody or using the keypad. If I wanted to add someone who's on a soft key down here, we haven't got to these buttons on the bottom, but the bottom LCD is actually there's actually 3 pages of those keys, right? So if I've got a person on my button right now, there's people that are lit up green. Those are people. I could hit the word conference. That person's on hold. I could hit Scott if I wanted to add Scott. Announce it to him, hit conference again, that bridge it together. So, very easy. Kind of jumped ahead on that one, but it's easy. 2 more categories on the button layout, okay? The slide bar above here, it's the volume controls. In an idle state, this controls how loud the phone is. Wherever I leave it, it's going to remember. This will be an incoming or an internal call, the ringer. Wherever I set it for my work area, it's going to remember. If I'm on the receiver, it's how loud the person is in my earpiece. So if I got that cell phone caller that I can't hear, you can turn it all the way up. And when you hang up, if you don't turn it down, the next landline that comes in may be too loud. What happens in an IP phone system is that the phone, if you've got the volume all the way up, you can start to hear your own voice echoing because the microphone will overpower and it's so clear, crisp. So if you ever hear your own voice echoing back to you, just hit the down key a couple of times, it'll go away. That only happens if you turn it all the way up and leave it all the way up. I hear your own voice echoing, but just hit down twice, and that'll resolve the issue. If I'm on the speakerphone, it becomes the speakerphone volume. If I have a headset, it's the headset volume. So it controls 4 volumes. Again, the bass, when it's down, it's how loud your phone is. Receiver, so set it for your area, set it, and you don't have to worry about it, but set it up for your work area. The last thing about the button layout is these soft keys, or they call programmable keys down below. So there's multiple pages, and in each workstation, we've asked you to map your phone as to what you want on your keys. Now, the purpose of these keys is to make your life easier, to make things so that it's a one-touch for you. So for the people that you deal with all the time, it might be an internal person. On this phone, you got Nick and Artie and Scott and Glenn. Obviously, this is a finance phone, right? You're in the finance department.
Planning.
Okay. So those are people you talk to often. So when they're on the phone, their button will turn red if it's an extension. So you can see if they're on the phone or not. So on this phone here, Karen has on page 1 actually. On the bottom is a little page number 1, 2, 3, so you can see what page you're on. And in this case, she has Ash Dean's voicemail as a one-touch key. When she's on a call, she can just press that key and it goes right to the voicemail, dumps the call right to the person's voicemail. So this is, you'll have to get a chance to use it.
Don't do
You know,
that.
what you want to do on those buttons. Because asking you to fill out a spreadsheet, I know was kind of a tall task because you don't know anything about the phones. But once you get used to the phone, you might want to change your station's buttons. And it's the IT department and our company will be able to change those keys for you as we go. So we need to get something in from day one, and thank you for doing what you did. but you might find that you might want to rearrange it or change it. It's just a map that your phone could be customized, so for that purpose, you know, it can be a feature, it can be a speed dial to the local pizza shop, it could be anything, you know, whatever you want on there, your spouse's cell phone, or a colleague, or a work, you know, someone for work, it can be anything. So that's what those keys are for. So that's the layout of the phone. I did mention the voicemail. So you have your voicemail key at the top, the envelope key. There's also a message waiting light at the top. Initially, we're going to set each phone up to receive voicemail to email, as well as getting a copy to your phone. So it'll light up the light when you get a copy, and when you get a message. The email that you receive comes from the system. In the body of the email, it'll say, "It came from me as the Dale Agreement called at 10:20. The caller ID information will be in there. The duration of the call, and the date, the timestamp." To actually play the voicemail, you double click the attachment in the email to play the voicemail. So initially, to start out, you get a copy to your phone and to your email. If you don't like the copy to your email or to your phone, one or the other, we can turn one off of the others. But we want you to try the email to see if it works for your position. Some people like, well, when I leave the place, I'm not checking email, so I only check my voicemail when I'm here. You're a person that we could just turn off the copy of the email. But we want you to try it to see if it helps you be more efficient. If it doesn't, you know, Artie and Nick, our team can turn it off on a per station basis.
Question. So if you get the email,
Yes.
you're like, all right, and you listen to your message on your computer, you're like, all right, cool, got it. Can you just delete you just delete the voicemail on that automatically, or?
If you delete the email, it does not talk back to the system or delete it off your phone. So you have to delete it off the phone. By default, each station can have 50 messages before the box is full. So we have a report that they can look at to see if a box is getting full. That kind of tells us that you're getting the email and you're not really checking the phone's voicemail. So we would probably turn off the copy to the phone in that case. But we can delete them in batch. We can delete them all in one shot. Or so it's really just to learn it in your station, see what you like and what you don't like. It does not talk backwards to delete it off the phone. That's the only negative. You gotta have 2 spots.
So if you have a message, can you call that person back from the message?
From the message. Only if you really can't, only if the person has the app on their laptop or cell phone.
Okay, all right.
The app allows you to have a copy of your extension on your phone. So if I'm in and out of the office and I want to have my extension on my cell phone as an app, there's so many licenses that we've given the city that you can have, and you can call out on the app on the city's number, not your cell phone number. So the public doesn't know your cell phone number. But if you have that app, you can call back from that.
That's fine. Just
Doesn't
curious.
integrate like that. And,
Yeah.
But they are talking about doing that moving forward. It's a feature that they're talking about adding. This is-
Not to put any pressure, but I have that on my iPhone. You know, if somebody leaves a phone number in their message, you can do a call back, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Especially, so you can see if cell phones are companies are doing, that's why this demand for it, they're talking about it. So I don't know what
Okay.
really sell come, but they are.
But that's
talking
fine.
about it.
Does that doesn't transcribe it?
Does not transcribe it.
So it's just an
Another-
audio file that you listen to?
You have to listen to the audio file.
Okay.
The transcription we find is just not very accurate in our experience. Again, that's something we're looking at too, the manufacturer of the switch that the stuff connects to. We're talking about it, but stuff that we've seen out there isn't 100%. It translates kind of funny. That is something that people are asking for, that they're talking about that. Just today, no, we don't have it. So right now, this phone is going into screensaver. By default, after so many seconds it goes in the screensaver. If that annoys you, it annoys me. I don't like it, especially when I'm training. So I'm gonna hit the middle key and I'm gonna go into the icons on the top. And I'm gonna go over to preferences. In preferences, I can go into my appearance and I can change the brightness, the contrast for my workstation. If my phone's near a window, you might need to change the contrast. So you can change it here. If you go down to screensaver, I'm gonna turn this off. Turn the phone off, you turn it back on. And then hit the word save. Now that it won't go into screensaver anymore. You also can, if you want, if there's multiple phones in your work area, you want your phone to sound differently when it rings, you can go into sounds and you can pick a different one. Just make sure you save it. So that's a couple things you can do in there. The phone book is in there as well, call history is in there. A lot of that stuff is stuff you just want to mess with because it's all configuration stuff that I already have to go fix or else if you go into too much. There's some configuration stuff that you want to stay on. But preferences, you can go in, history. Yeah. So in the phone book. All right, so I know we're taking you now to the user guide. And I really want to focus on this. We initially talked about this. So again,
Before you do that, I have a question on you mentioned keeping the 2,000 recent calls or all that stuff. Is that on just your phone or is it?
just your phone.
Okay, so if a call comes in to the main phone, which would be Kalina's phone in our case,
It's going to be there.
it's going to be there. If the call gets transferred to my phone, is it now on my phone as well?
It'll be under answered calls, if your phone answered.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be in your history as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just under a different category of answer. If you answered, it'd be under answered. If you missed it and went to voicemail, you'd have missed.
So if somebody calls in like that and you answer the phone call and you're like, oh man, can I save that number? Can you save that number on the phone?
Save it to like a speed dial or something?
No, just like save it like as a no.
No, it's under history, but you can't, there's no place to tuck it.
Okay.
I think you're saying you want to save that to like a little quick.
Yeah, just because I have like a wall of phone numbers.
So if you wanted to give us your wall of numbers, right? I can add it into a speed dial book, a phone book. For you, when you hit the phone book, it would be, well, it can be put into your phone actually. So it's just on your phone, but it'd be under like a title,
Oh,
Dale's phone book.
sweet. All right, cool.
If you give me the list in an Excel spreadsheet, I can create it for you.
You got it, boss.
You know, it just takes some time. Usually does that stuff like overnight. But you can drop it in your phone. And the city phone book gets updated every 12 hours. So it always looks to update. We don't update it every 12 hours. If we made a change, every 12 hours it looks to the city's book. It won't overwrite your book. That's how that works. Again, that's just, those are the things, moving forward, we'll do all that stuff for you. If it's a year from now, 2 years from now, we'll do it for you. That's how we operate. We don't charge for that kind of work. But of course, that's not it. So as far as the user guide goes, we talked about answering a call. You just pick up the receiver or hit the speakerphone button. Private hold is the pause key. These phone buttons have pictures because this phone is so globally. And we should set hold, but that there it's a global phone, and that's why so let's get into Park. So Park is day one, tomorrow morning, when the phone rings. You don't know where the buttons are. You don't know the extensions. You got to find a piece of paper. It's panic mode tomorrow morning, probably, right? So what I tell people is, you pick up the receiver, you grab the call. If it isn't for you and you want to move it to someone else, just hit one of the parking locations. whatever one you select will turn red. Now it's on hold throughout your whole department. Each department has parking spots that are different. So like, I wish I had the map here, but the tax collector and the city clerk are part of one group. They have their own visual parking buttons. Planning, planning and code enforcement have their own set of buttons. These are visuals for your department. So if you park it, most likely you're gonna move it internally within your department. So the numbers, it says park 94 to 97 on this phone. For Karen. So if I were to park a call and I wanted to give it to finance, I would just have to tell them the call is parked on 94. If I parked it on 94, 94 would turn red. I then could intercom and dial their extension or tell them, you know, if you saw them in the hallway, the call is parked on 94. You just go to the keypad and hit 94 and hit dial. Wait 3 seconds and then you pick up the call. So for that reason, any call could be parked that comes into your department and given to anyone within the city. So if this call is now for, they want to speak to water department or DPW, you could park the call. You could call over to DPW and announce it to them and say, it's parked on 94, and they can hit 94 to keep at and pick up the call without telling the patron or the person, you have to dial this number. You also can transfer to them, which will come, but you can transfer the call, you can dump the call. It'll look like an incoming call to them. So having a citywide system prevents you from dialing the 7-digit number when you want to call the DPW. You're just going to dial the extension or press their key if you got the key. But when you park a call, now you can park a call and move it around the city. Which is pretty nice.
How many parks does each department get?
Well, we gave, based on the initial meeting, we don't ever put 4 on a phone, but we put 4 on planning because planning and code are sharing them.
Mhm.
We put 4 on the clerk, tax clerk. Now, these are transient spots where you're just moving a call from desk to desk. And as soon as the person picks up the call off park, let's say it's within the department and the person sits in the next queue over, I hit park. And I could just say, the call's parked at 91, it's so-and-so, to you verbally. You can look at the phone and you know when they pick it up because it'll turn green again. So it's available for the next caller.
Okay,
So it's just a transit spot.
so I was thinking if we transferred something from the clerk's office to the DPW and they are on our Park 97, would it
When they
hold,
pick it
would
up,
it
no.
hold up that
When
spot?
they pick it up, it
Okay.
opens your spot back up.
Okay,
So it kind of just a temporary spot.
okay.
So even call centers, most call centers will use 4 park buttons, but based on the feedback that we got, there was a concern that, you know, if we're giving you a little bit more than we think you're really gonna ever use, but you got 4. The other thing is if I've got a call, you can always hold the call. You know, you got 4 spots, you can park the call, or hold the call, and then transfer the call, which I'll show you. So there's many ways of, big thing is get them in the door, answer them, either put them on private hold or park them, and then process it, you know, so that's,
But each department has their own park numbers.
they have their own visual park spots and numbers, yes, so
Okay.
like, yeah, they start somewhere in the 60s for the fire department, but, you know, so if someone calls you from a different department outside your department, they will tell you the number to dial on the keypad to pick up the call. What I was thinking is, you know, I don't know really the workflow here, but if Nancy's phone, if she gets a lot of the dial 0 calls, but when we studied it, the only number that gets to Nancy's, the number goes to the auto attendant. Is city manager's 1270. That's the only number that goes to auto attendant here. I think we should rethink that. But if she could basically place the call in the right group. Untouched keys. Not to talk about it, but she could place it in the code enforcement or planning's group. If she got a call for planning, she could just hit the 94 button. She has one of these larger phones. See that? The consoles. This is 80 keys on the console. So we can set those park keys up.
Should we answer the phone number, please?
So parking, again, you're publicly parking the call. The idea of the visuals is just for your internal department, so you can visually see if the call's been picked up. If you forget that someone gets on parking, they get forgotten. The call is set for 300 seconds, which is kind of long. It could be anywhere from 45 seconds to whatever you want it to be. It'll recall to the person who put it on park to remind you that you left someone on park and the other person didn't pick it up. If that person doesn't answer and call back on the park, then it goes somewhere else. For each department, it's a different.
So an example of that, because we just got new phones at my prior job. We would put the call on park and then you hang up the phone and you call the person to say, hey, can you pick up on park, whatever.
Yes.
By the time we hung up the phone was calling back to us because they were on hold. It
too
was,
quick,
it was
yeah.
too quick. It was
Yeah.
like you needed a longer time
Yeah.
in order to tell the person, hey, you have a call and give them time to finish what they were doing to pick up that call.
40, like the fire default is 45 seconds, and I always ask the tech programmer to change it. Because 45 seconds is not enough either.
Yeah.
So you want that person. The whole thing about our phone system and being different from the IP office system that you had is we prefer that you, if you're gonna move a call and you're going to announce the call to someone else in the city, that you park the call, make that phone call to them, tell them where it is, whether it's a dial, the number, because it's a different department, or if it's the visual key within your department, tell them where it is, let them pick it up at their leisure. It's better telephone etiquette for the recipient of the caller because they have a chance, let's say there's someone in front of them or they're typing an email, they have a chance to gather their thoughts, finish the email, get the file, and gather their thoughts before they pick up the call because they pick up the call at their leisure. They're picking it up when they want to pick it up. If you transfer the call to them, as soon as you hit the word transfer, we're going to come next. The caller is in their earpiece and they have no choice. They have no choice.
Mm.
So I tell people, if you're going to screen the call, you should park the call, announce it to them, let them pick it up at their leisure. And then watch the button, see if it turns green.
So if you transfer that person automatically just shows up, it doesn't like ring at the receiver's end?
If they transfer the call, it'll ring on the phone.
Okay.
It's gonna ring after 20 seconds of ringing. Anytime your phone rings for 20 seconds, it goes to your voicemail. So, yeah. If you transfer the call according to this, how this book is set up, and you transfer the call blind without announcing it, they'll get the caller ID, the outside call. But if, so this is your prerogative, but it's just that when you transfer a call, the call is immediately sent to them. On your earpiece.
But when you say immediately, it's gonna ring at the other person.
It's gonna ring.
So the
Right.
person could let it go to
Right.
voicemail.
You could, yeah. Yeah, that's true. You could say, let's say they try to announce it to you, you'd say, I don't talk to the salesperson. They could just blind transfer to your extension and you could hit ignore. And ignore comes up on the screen and you can send it right to voicemail.
Write that down.
We've got a couple of people that applies to.
Send them to my voicemail.
So when, in talking about transfer here, we talk about blind transfer and attended. Attended means I'm going to announce. Blind is I'm gonna dump the call. Now, a good case for this is, I've talked to this person and now they want to speak to another department, but you don't want to screen the call. You just want it to make it look like it's an incoming call. So what you would do is, when you're on the call, the word transfer, the word transfer will come up as one of your soft keys. The word transfer. Now the party's on hold up on the top key, you're on hold. I can either dial their 3-digit extension. If I dial the extension, then I hit blind. As soon as I hit the word transfer, 2 words come up after that. blind or attended. So it lets you choose whether you're gonna announce it or not announce it. But in my case, I'm gonna blind or dump the call. I got the call in my ear, handset, I hit blind. I dial the extension, I hit blind, and now the call is gonna ring into the party like an incoming call. If I'm using a soft key, a one-touch key, one of these keys down in the bottom to do a transfer, the technique is transfer blind, then button. It's just the quirk of the system. You have to have this guide nearby for the first few times you do it. Transfer blind button and then button. But that is if you're using a soft key, one of the programmable keys, the bottom technique. Do you have one of these? Yeah. Let's see something else I wanted to tell you about this. So another example of transferring a call to, you want to transfer, Scott's out for the day, you want to transfer to his voicemail, you don't want to bother, don't want to make his phone ring. You want to send it straight to voicemail. That would be transferring a call to voicemail right here without ringing the phone. You've got the call, you hit the word transfer, star, extension number, and blind. So that's a little, transfer star, extension number, blind. Now, Karen, on Karen's phone, she's got a one-touch key to Dean, which does all that for her. So if you have people that you transfer to voicemail all the time because they're in and out, constantly transfer their voicemail, you can transfer the call blindly, transfer extension blind or transfer blind button. It'll ring for 20 seconds, it'll go to the voicemail. But if you want to send it straight to the voicemail, you have to hit transfer star and the extension number.
But if you have it set up on there, if you're just talking on the phone, you're like, oh, I'll transfer you to the voicemail, you just push
One
the,
touch key, you're done. So when we set up people's phones, sometimes they don't want to get involved in setting up the button maps. So we set it up. We'll just put everyone's name, like I'll put the extension on the left and their voicemail on the right. On each page for all, like if I'm code and planning, I put all the code and planning people and their voicemails. Like, so it's linear. So think about it. If you're always transferring these three people's voicemail all the time, let's put on a one-touch key. So much easier. If I want to dump a call to a different department, and you used to tell people hang up and dial this number. Well, now what you can do to simulate what an incoming call does at the water department, for example, you can hit transfer, dial the last 4 digits of the water department's number, which is gonna ring into them like a regular call does to them. Last 4 digits of their. I noticed on this piece of paper, I think this has been around for a while. We just added the new extension to it, already planning. But there's the phone numbers for each department. This, you just tell transfer the last 4 digits of the phone number, and then blind, and it'll ring into them. So if they have an auto attendant, they'll ring their auto attendant. If they have a ring group that rings all the phones, like the fire department, they'll ring all the phones.
Okay, the clerks downstairs, they have a line that anybody can pick up out of the 3 clerks or 4 clerks, whatever.
So it rings all.
Right.
That's okay,
And
too.
I transfer them. If a call comes in, I transfer it down to that extension, not to Hillary or
Yes,
whatever.
yes. Perfect example of what I'm saying. The last 4 digits of the 7-digit number. So that was the tax collectors.
Yeah, or city clerk, whatever.
Oh, city clerk, okay,
I
so
think
you-
it's labeled counterphone. Is
Yeah.
it counterphone?
Yeah.
So anybody can pick it up on that line, you know,
Oh, yeah.
downstairs.
It's a good- I haven't covered that, but that's, so you transfer the counterphone, right? So when the counterphone needs to be on a button on your page 1, so that you can see that the counterphone is ringing. If you want to answer it, you'll see that the counterphone is ringing, it'll flash red. You just hit the key to remotely answer the call from your desk.
Yeah, because I don't care who picks up downstairs as long as somebody picks up downstairs. So that's why we have that separate line so that I can just throw it down there and whoever is available will be able to pick it up.
So you can do that, dial the counter, transfer counter extension, or if you've got it on, you'll have it on a one-touch key most likely. So transfer blind,
We had that question.
transfer
before.
blind button, the bottom, because you're gonna have a button for it most likely.
Yeah, I'm gonna have one of those big phones.
Yeah, so you'll have a one-touch
Yeah.
key to drop it to them.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Exactly.
We can do it to that counter phone, but we could also do it to
Show this a bit.
1265, the last four digits of the. Like you do it one or two ways. You can do the counter phone like you used to. But you could also transfer it to 1265, the last four digits of the phone number. It'll ring just like it'll ring all the phones in that group. This is ring.
So,
I don't think they like that.
Well, it happens both ways.
So right now,
403,
it's at 403.
Yeah.
So now it'll be 1265.
Yes.
That's too many numbers to push.
Because for your phone, you should have everything in those positions. That's why the bigger phone, we want everything to be in written in English and a one-touch key. I can't remember
I
all this stuff.
definitely need all that.
That's so we need to work on your patient specifically to get. It's gonna make your life easier. 'Cause that's the purpose of the phone. It's not,
That would be good.
we need more keys to do more of that one-touch stuff.
Yeah, so if I'm sending a call down to someone and they don't answer, it's automatically gonna go into voicemail, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good, because I don't want it to come back
It
to
won't
me.
come back to you. No.
Good.
If you park the call and screen it, then.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You don't do that. That's a blind transfer.
It's none of my business.
So I point out the last four digits of their main number, because let's say I get a call and I want to transfer it to the water department. Well, I would just dial the 0901 number, and it would ring in just like an incoming call without telling the person to call back. So you would just transfer, you'll have a one-touch key, but the rest of it, we would transfer 0901 blind, ring into them like an incoming call. We use those numbers because it seems like it's on all the papers. And I think you're used to telling people this is the number to call. So instead of we didn't want to conflict with the 400s you had. We didn't want to give up those numbers in the system. Because Robert's using numbers.
I have a
So-
question,
oh, go ahead.
sorry. So if Deb dials 1265 and transfers the call to us,
Yes.
the separate two phones for tax have a different phone number. Is she able to pick up the phone for us? Because a lot of times she does, because we're busy with customers in front of us.
Yes, so if your extensions appear on her set, which they need to,
Mhm.
when a call's coming into the group, they're both gonna flash at the same time. So you would, so she would have the two, two tax collectors buttons. They're gonna both flash. And when it doesn't get answered, she can just hit the key to pick it up.
She can hit the key.
Yeah, just-
Okay.
One thing about that is there's no audible. There could be an audible. If I turn the audible on, it'll drive you nuts because every time someone's phone rings, your phone's gonna ring. So I don't really want to turn the ring around. I just want you have the visual to be able to help pick up the phone without dialing code.
Okay.
You can just pick up anybody's phone that's ringing. You can, if it's flashing, you can go key to pick it.
So we just need them as one of our keys.
Yes, you do. yeah.
Okay.
So. As far as the last thing on this attended transfer, right? So if you wanted to announce a call using the attended transfer technique versus park, a lot of steps, but we certainly can do it. So you got the call, the word transfer comes up, you dial the extension on the keypad. You hit the word attended transfer, you announce the call to them, and then you hit transfer to complete. I would just hit park, call their extension, tell them, I'm picking up when they're ready, you're done. I wouldn't go there, I wouldn't do this. But if you feel you want to use transfer technique to announce a call, this technique called. It's more steps than park, but I tell people just cross it out in park. If you're gonna announce it in park, announce it, you're done. All right, so the last, is there any questions about the things I've covered so far?
How,
Yes.
how wide is that phone?
Well, in the contract, we scheduled it for 80 keys, so the phone is gonna be this wide. You can have one panel, you can have the two that we contracted for,
Right.
but this is with one panel. But this has 2 pages of 20 keys, so you've got 40 keys here to play with. If you had the second one, you get the 80.
Artie, what am I getting?
You get this one. You're supposed to get 2, yeah.
Thank
So-
you.
You could have every phone in the city right on here, and you could sell if they're busy or not. And you can have one-touch keys to do everything that you do, so that makes
Okay,
you.
so I'm gonna have to make some space on my
You're
desk.
getting a new desk.
Really? Thank
I'm
you.
kidding.
Just an extension.
Yeah, they're putting it outside for you.
Yes,
Unlimited space that way.
thank you.
Sorry. So these phones can have a Bluetooth headset paired to them. If you need a headset that gives you 30 feet radius. Bluetooth headset, it can be a corded headset that plugs in. If you have a headset, I would need to know about it so I can look at to see if it's compatible. Most Plantronics headsets are compatible. If there's anything like that, come see me.
AirPods.
If you can pair to them, you should be able to pair. The other thing about airports, you can't answer a call, but like our Bluetooth headsets, you can answer a call remotely. But if you pair them, you gotta hit the key, BT key, soft key comes up to answer Bluetooth. Hang up that way.
Or communicator.
You're. It's convenient if you're floating around, but you still have to come back to push buttons on the phone.
Captain.
Yeah.
The native of the rest of this.
And all the setups with the remote hook switch. Yeah, it gives you up to 900 feet. But they're expensive, they're $300 to $500. But if, all that stuff's possible, we just need to know about it. Look at it. See what you have.
That beat me up.
The last thing I want to talk about, go ahead. Sorry.
You mentioned that when you put somebody on park or whatever on hold, music plays.
Yes.
Is there any way of changing the music?
Yeah, because it stinks.
It
It is bad.
Wow.
It is like really bad.
Lullaby.
No,
Right now, there's-
no, it's not even that.
Put some
It's
Slipknot on there.
boom, 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 boom.
There's 12
It's
files
retro.
in the system's base.
It's bad.
And we have to weed out the bad ones, but each department could have their own, it's just a music file. It's a WAV file or MP3. So that's something that Nick and Artie will pick it. Or they can help you on.
Could we have one that just goes, uh-huh, uh-huh?
Tell me more.
ACDC?
As-
You don't say.
So it has to be something that's, that's licensed, that's.
Is that an extra fee?
Well, there's a lot of free ones that, we have one that we can put in there that's classical music.
No,
And it
no.
just says every so many minutes, it says, sorry, you're on hold.
Your call is very important to us.
We have one of those that's licensed, but everything else is just classical or piano or.
I've never even listened to our.
Something that don't put us to sleep.
But it's changeable. It's
I think
just
we
a
do now.
file
don't
that-
we?
the 12 that are in there, I agree. There's some terrible ones.
It was- This was fire department, so whatever one, theirs is
Yeah.
bad.
And they have, then they
So
hang up
randomly
because they get.
placed too.
There you go, when they're on hold, yeah.
So we need to get, we need to look at that.
Okay.
We just.
Babbling Brooks.
Exactly.
Oh, you can go to logins, you can play it.
Yeah, I'll
Then you can have fun with it. Because you can pick what you want to put on there.
Music at the transfer station.
No classic, no jazz. none of that.
All right, last thing is voicemail, please. So your envelope key is your access to your voicemail box. Each button is associated with your extension. The password of your extension is 123 to start. Passwords cannot, you can change them. It cannot be your extension number. The system will continually ask you to change the password. If you change it to be your extension. Every time you log in, it'll say, change your password. Can't be your extension number. Can't start with a 0. Anything else, any length you want, it can be. If you lose the password, IT can recover it. They can reset it. So don't worry about if you change it and forget it, we can recover it or we can reset it.
Would you say it's gonna be by default, it's gonna be
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3?
Set it to pi.
So I'm gonna just go in there so you can hear. What I want you to do is set up your box. Once you won't have your phone until tomorrow morning. But when you come in, go in there, hit 1, 2, 3, hit 0 to manage your box. So I'm gonna just play that for you so you can hear it. Sorry.
Password. You have no messages. Press 2 to change folders. Press 3 for advanced options. Press 0 for mailbox options. Press star for help or pound to exit.
So I'm gonna go into 0.
Press 1 to record your unavailable message. Press 2 to record your busy message. Press 3 to record your name. Press 4 to record your temporary greeting. Press 5 to change your password. Press star to return to the main menu.
All right, so we want you to record your unavailable greeting and your name.
Yeah, they're right here.
Don't bother recording a busy greeting because in our system, you're never really busy. The call's gonna split the screen, you get a caller ID on the second call. The third call will still come in, it'll split the screen. You'll eventually get the voicemail. The only time you're really busy on our system is if the phone is offline or if you're in do not disturb. Do not disturb is a feature that you'd have to put on the key. So now if you don't do a recording for busy and you have do not disturb, it'll just say extension 128 is currently on the phone. So you don't need to do a busy greeting. The temporary greeting is if you go on vacation or you're out sick, you can record a temporary greeting and it doesn't eliminate your unavailable greeting, it just puts it on the top. So when you come back to work, you can go into option 4 and turn it off and your unavailable greeting is still there. Now, there's some people that are very good about communicating and they use that every day to say from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I'll be returning phone. If you want to use that temporary greeting, feel free to. That's what it's for. It's just to, so you don't have to re-record your unavailable greeting constantly. If you're updating your temporary greeting if you're in and out of the office or if you're on vacation or sick. Option 5 to change your password. So the rest of the voicemail system is very intuitive. It tells you everything you need to know. If you have a message, it tells you 7 to delete it. If you delete something by mistake, 7 again to undelete it or undelete it. Makes a mistake and delete something. 8 to forward it to someone else. If you forward it, it says, do you want to prepend it with your message before you send it to someone? Option 1 or 2 to send it without prepending. You can save your messages in different folders. If you have a message in the phone, you can save it. On email, of course, you can save it. But on your phone, you can save it. Special folder. So people say, why would I do that? Well, if you get that nice message from your significant other and you want to save for rainy days, you're feeling lousy, nice message, you can say whatever you want. And get that irate person that you want to play it for someone else, you can save it, tuck it away. So to exit, you can just hit end call or hit the star pound key, star for help. It's very intuitive. You never really need this manual once you set up the box. Now, if I don't get my voicemail, the email, and I want to get my messages from the outside world, I want to get messages from home, I would call into the department's number. You have to be able to get, something has to answer. An auto attendant would have to answer after hours. Like if you dial the 1270 number, there's an auto attendant that answers it. after hours. You would just either dial your extension and let your phone ring until you answer, your greeting comes on. When it does, you hit star. It'll ask for your password at that point. Or you can dial star plus your extension. It'll get you right to your greeting. You hit star again. So you can retrieve messages remotely. What this is saying at the bottom of the guide is, if I'm in someone else's office, I want to get a message that's in my phone. Star 98 to get to the voicemail system. Then it'll ask me for what extension.
Comedian mail. Mailbox. Password. Login incorrect. Mailbox.
124. Yeah, I don't know if there's a 124, but maybe that's an extension that it's already programmed. But again, that's just to pick up your messages from some other phone. You're out to the building, you call into your phone, hit star, and then password.
When you say call in the phone, call into the main line of the department or into my
What we
actual?
can Do is to call in the main number, the 1270, the advertised main number. Get the auto attendant at night and hit star plus your extension.
Okay, what if it's during the day and somebody's answering that phone?
Well, then you'd have to transfer you to your voicemail. They'd have to hit blind fire star extension number blind.
Okay,
So they call the 3877, the main city hall, I think it is. You get that auto attendant, you go from there.
Yeah, and you have to have an auto attendant answer to be able to get to your voicemail box. So if you type your extension number, your phone will ring for 20 seconds before you get your voicemail greeting. But if you just type star plus your extension, it'll go right to your greeting and hit star again. It says, okay, what's my password? What's your password? 1287. Oh, IT. Okay.
You said the only one we have to record is our name and
And you're unavailable. Number one and number three. How do we use your name? Well, when we have dial by name directory at night, someone says, they hit the option for dial by name, and dial the first name and last name, you don't know the extension. When they successfully dial, Artie, it's either the first name or last name. When they successfully dial, and they confirm that you're trying to reach Artie. They say, if there's multiple matches that reads them off, press 1 for Artie, press 2 for whatever. When they actually get the person they want and they confirm it, it'll say transferring to in your voice. They'll be your voice. You do the option 3, so it's a nice touch. The system will use your voice in the transfer.
How do you tell it to use the temporary greeting instead of the unavailable?
So you go in there and hit 4, and as soon as you record the temporary greeting, it puts it on top of your stack. Okay. Until you go back in and turn it off. It's like when you go back in the second match, it's still turn it off. I think it's 2, press 1 to re-record.
Is that temporary greeting saved as a temporary, or does it delete?
It saves as a temporary, no, you're right. If you delete it, it's gone. So it's one you have to re-record every time you do it. You can't tuck it away and save it and turn it on or off when you want. You have to re-record every time you want to use it.
so and if you have do not disturb as a feature on your phone, you push that. If somebody tries calling you, does it automatically just put them to your voicemail?
It goes right to the voicemail and it says the person's unavailable. The option 3 will come on, the default one just says their extension number and that person's unavailable. That's how that works. So, the voicemail to email, try it out. One thing I like to advise you is the header always comes from the system is in the header of the email. So it's always come from the same source. So sometimes it can be treated as spam. So what you should do the first time you get an email, voicemail email, is I would save it as a trusted source. In most cases, you right click it. You can save it as a trusted source and you'll never have a problem with spam. Otherwise, if you don't, stop getting your voicemail emails. They're probably landing in spam. That's it.
We'll try it.
Just something that we we've, over our 15 years, we've seen that, so.
I'm just kidding.
I think that's about it. I want to tell you that, tomorrow, the important thing is, pick up the receiver, you got the call, hit park, take a deep breath. And, you shouldn't have any fear of losing calls or dropping calls, or, if you park's your friend, just hit park, take a deep breath. And you can always verbalize it across the room or intercom somebody. But if you have, this is basically it's a blank canvas that we tried to get enough information to get the configuration right for tomorrow, to get you functioning tomorrow, but don't get frustrated. If you have changes you want to make, we're going to be making changes from here on out until we get it right. So especially tomorrow morning, we need to hear, I think you need to funnel it to you, right? We're going to funnel, right? So we're going to work as a team. We're going to get it right. And, we hope that we have a pretty accurate thing for tomorrow, but if you find something's wrong, just speak up. We'll address it as, tomorrow we'll address anything that comes up. And moving forward, if you try it for a week, if you want to change something, we'll change it. Your button maps, absorb it, use it for a while, and then if you want to take that spreadsheet that we have out there and refill it out overnight, we'll reapply it to your phone. So we want you to be happy. There's a lot to this. The actual user guide is something we create, because the user guide that comes with the phone is 100 pages long. And there's no way we want to take you through all that, because you'll use 100% of what's in that book. And the rest of it's technical. We can do a lot of different things, but for now, we just want to get you operational, and then we'll work to get to the best configuration.
So you said if we did an Excel sheet with people's names and numbers, you could do a personalized phone book.
Yeah, that's just a straight spreadsheet with the first name, last name, with the organization name, and then phone number.
Could we have a group phone book like that? If like planning was, I know that everybody in planning seems to call, some that we have just a planning phone book that would.
And you can tell me what phones to put that on. You have to tell me what extensions you want to apply that phone book to.
Cool, thank you.
And I know, we don't get to it for a month, that's fine, we'll do it when we get to it, we'll do it.
Okay.
Again, the citywide phone book will not override your, that's what I call personal phone book. We'll make sure that the citywide one doesn't override it. And that is, it's 500 records. Any other questions? I know I've kind of gone fast through it.
It's gonna be one of those things, once we use it, then.
Probably 6 months.
The TSE departments will be fully trained. They have a short
Really need
training
vacation
session.
this afternoon.
But just to be more reactive, like if they can make an immediate change and they have time to do it. But we're like, it's a managed solution, so we make all these changes for you moving forward. Some of the systems we sold in 2005, we're still making the changes for them for free. They don't have IT departments. But it's a team thing. We view it as a team thing, and the things that they choose to do to help make, keep things operating moving forward, that's fine. Anything they'll pass on to us. And minor changes like button changes at 24-hour things with us. But they are going to be trained on a lot of things that they don't, that they can be reactive and adjust. It's going to take them a couple weeks to get to that point. You're giving them first level training, which is just a brief session, but as we go now, they'll get more and more training. As a resource, I think we just need to follow the tickets through their department so that we can keep track of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I
Anyone
can
else
add
need an extra?
You already did.
No, but I do have a headset.
You do have that? Okay.